Where? Hello, beautiful souls. This is your sign. This is permission being granted to you to take up some more freaking space. And it is currently the Leo new moon in the tropical system. This is the perfect time to plant some seeds. So I have invited Nicole to come and just chat with me today about taking up space because this has been a theme for you for a while, but also very specifically recently. And you've got an amazing story. But thanks for making the time to chat today. It's been a while since we have done this live in front of people.
Yes, my pleasure. Happy to be here. And yeah, I was thinking, I think it's been since like May or June since I've done a live. And before that, it was a really long time. So I am not so much in practice anymore, but I also have embodied so much wisdom and codes about confidence and taking up space. So I feel like it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I talk to Nicole every day. I get to see her face or at least hear her voice. But a lot of the time, we have these private conversations and we're like, the world needs to hear this stuff. It's well, it's dripping with, just juicy codes and activations. And I'm like, why don't we share this with the world? So here we are. Hey, beautiful ones. So um I think I just want to start by getting people, whether you're live or on the replay, to let us know if you have ever been accused of being too much or maybe not even accused, but like if you have felt like you were and like that was a problem and you had to shrink yourself down because other people were uncomfortable with your magic, your light, your expression, your literally your energy, your being. I'm sad that so many of us have had this experience. I think it's probably universal. I don't know many people walking around, at least not who are our age, as like elder or geriatric millennials in that zennial kind of days where we were not told to be less bright, less loud, less shiny, less enthusiastic, less cringy. Even like in the 1990s the 2000s, like to physically take up less space. The idea that, a woman could be like big and bold and like still confident in her body being more than a size 4 was actually not in the culture, right? Have you been seeing those TikToks and videos lately about going showing like Britney Spears and Jessica Simpson when they were at their like fattest and everyone's like, ew, they let themselves go and we
I've
believe the
been like
media?
horrified watching those again. And at the time I knew like they weren't fat, but now looking at it now, I was like, oh my God, no wonder everybody my age has had to undo or is still working through so much body shame and stuff because those women are gorgeous and they're normal and they're probably still below the like average of what a normal woman looks like. So, wow, we have gone through a lot.
Yes, and we are undoing so much from the physical to the emotional and mental levels and layers of being too much and spiritual layers, right? Like where it hasn't been safe to be your full magical self. We have for, hundreds of years, if not millennia, kind of like shrunk down our light and our magic to make sure we wouldn't be hung at the stake or exiled or stoned to death. Like it goes deep.
Hmm. Yeah, there's like on every level and layer, we've been suppressed and repressed and told that we're not okay. It's not okay to be who we are. And as you were speaking into this, yeah, it just makes me think of like being in the corporate world before and like really having to compartmentalize who I was because only a certain part of me is professional and is okay to show up in a corporate environment. And there was just so much of me that was hidden. And I still brought a lot of me to my corporate job when I did that. But there's so much more now. And oh, it feels so much better to be in this space where I am allowed to be more of who I am. And that actually not just allowed, it's encouraged, and I have to be more of who I am. Otherwise, people are not going to see me or know what I am about or what I'm doing. Like as a personal brand, as an entrepreneur, you have to be who you are. Otherwise, nobody's gonna want to work with you.
Yeah. So there's so much unlearning. I always say entrepreneurship is going to show you all your shit, like all those belief systems, all of those old paradigms. And you're not just being an entrepreneur, you are also being an entrepreneur in the new paradigm of inverting the entire old matrix where, everything was upside down and basically an inverted reality. Everything that we prioritized was the opposite of what we should be prioritizing. And so not only is it like, okay, how do I step up my visibility game? How can I show all of me so people can feel me and know me and find me? But at the same time, unlearn all of that old stuff. So there's a healing journey that goes on at the same time in your entrepreneurship. And like the personal development work is going to be, I think, the thing that allows you to either be successful and create the income and the impact and have the abundance and the magic and the joy and the freedom that you desire, or not. And I know you live that. So this is a great conversation to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, without the entrepreneurship journey, I feel like I was just really such a fractal of myself, and it's been so much fun to be able to grow and expand and feel more comfortable taking up more space and go from being apologetically taking up space to unapologetically doing it. And there's still more levels and layers to expand because I'm still like not totally okay with being 100% of myself in every situation all the time. So there's always more to grow into.
Totally. And there's a time and a place. And as we're having this conversation, like, let's remember there's nuance, there's situations where you don't like bring all of you to the table just because that's not appropriate. But we're talking, on the grand scale, we're moving out of this compartmentalization and energy of separation, which was the old paradigm, and into this unity field where we can be multidimensional, we can be all of us. And it's really fun to have this ability to do that as well. Like if you are working in a job or where you can't and you have to remain professional, that's totally okay. Like it's not that that's wrong or bad, but most of the people on my feed can take this to their personal life, I think, if it doesn't apply to the job, but also there's going to be seeds and codes and things like that into the employment. But also like most of the people that I know have some kind of business, have some kind of, if not side hustle, then full-time entrepreneurial gig. I know a lot of online coaches, creators, people that are practitioners, healers, helpers, or they know they're here to be one. So some of the things might be planting seeds for later when you do expand into that role or just for, your general personal life. Yeah, we want to be appropriate in settings, right? Like it's just a thing that we do. But bringing all of you into your space is one thing, but then like taking up that unapologetic space when people have been like, could you maybe not? Could you maybe leave space for the rest of us? Could you be more humble? Like maybe we should talk about that for a sec because there's a lot of like tentacles and cords and like weirdness around, I think, the concepts of like humility and being humble enough, but also there is the very real thing about needing to share and co-create. So how do these things coexist?
Hmm.
We
Well,
can talk about one at a time, by the way. I just kind
yeah,
of put
I'm
them
like
together.
feeling into the humbleness and stuff. And what was coming through for me about that is like, yes, like we're magical, magnificent, and we're also magical and magnificent, just like everybody else. So that doesn't make us better than anybody else or anybody else worse than us. It's not like this hierarchical thing. It's just I want to see all of us rise. That's what I share in all of my like ecstatic dance classes and just floating back to vibes when I was just facilitating a dance journey there. I want to see everybody rise, everybody shine their light because we're each so unique and magical and we each have our own codes and keys to bring out into humanity. So there's that. And yes, we can also be humble at the same time. Well, we know that we're magnificent. We know that there's still more to know. We don't know everything, and we can still learn from other people. There's bigger, more expansive versions of us to grow into, so we can be like so happy about where we are right now and also so excited about the future as well, like all these different paradoxical consciousness things. And then the other piece that you were talking about, and I'm forgetting the second part.
Oh, that's okay. I wanted just to say though about the humility piece. I read somewhere that the true like more ancient definition of humble was actually to be like fully accepting of the gifts of the divine that you have as well, and also not being like, oh, I have nothing. Like it kind of got twisted over time. So the owning of the gifts and the magic that you hold without saying that it's worthless or nothing is actually more humble when you're being like, yeah, these gifts are mine and I have them, but you're not taking like the ownership. It's like they are God given, they're divine, and who am I to not share them and shine?
Yeah, I also want to bring that piece too through. You're actually doing a disservice to the people that need your help if you're not going to share your gifts with the world. Because if the people that you or other people, other mentors that I've had didn't show up and share what they were here to share, I wouldn't be where I was, and I wouldn't be able to share it with the next group of people that need my specific message. And then that will help them share whatever it is they need to share in the world and ripple that out. Like, ah, it's so magical.
Right. I'm also always thinking personally of the artists and inspirations that I love the most. They're not holding back. Like they are in their full expression. The speakers, the dancers, the artists, the creators, the musicians. When someone is so in flow and owning their magic and not being like, oh, am I singing too much? Is this belting? Like, oh, is it going to make other people think that I'm showing off? No. When they're like fully owning their voice, their essence, their expression, then like that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah,
That's
that
the art that I want to see.
yes, that's so true, actually. I've never gone to a concert and be like, wow, who did I see in concert recently? I don't know. Taylor Swift is really taking up too much space on the stage. Like, not that I saw Taylor Swift, but you know what I mean, right? We would never think that about somebody. You would think the opposite. If she was like, oh, something's off with her tonight. Why is she like, you could feel her presence if it wasn't fully there, fully going all in. You would be like, she's not delivering on what she's supposed to. We need to bring that energy into our lives.
Yeah. And you and I wouldn't. And I think most of the people that would be watching this wouldn't think that. But there are people who do. There are people who judge. There are people who look at Taylor Swift and judge her in all kinds of ways. There are people who judge all kinds of women for being too loud or men. They're just judgmental people saying you're too much. That's too loud. Oh my God. It's so cringy. Like that vibe though, as I'm saying it, I'm like, ooh, it feels so gross, right? It's heavy, it's dense, that energy of judgment of saying someone else is too much just because it doesn't happen to be to your taste, right? Is one thing. It can be, you can not like Taylor Swift's music or Madonna's music or Lady Gaga or Elton John or whatever, or this person's art. You can like it or not like it, but the second you start to go, it's wrong and bad because it exists and it's taking up space, like it's a wounded thing where it's making, I think there'd be some discomfort typically. And I'm painting things with a broad stroke here, but usually that wounding is because that person who's doing the judging is afraid to take up the space themselves, right? They would like to be so radiantly expressive, but they feel like they can't, and it's filling a part of their soul. And so there's that discomfort and that anger, and it could be jealousy, and it comes out as judgment and anger because they think that they can't, so nobody else can, because maybe they were told that, or someone else, they had a dream. Like it's really messy and heavy, and it's just not the vibe that we are moving into. The new paradigm is allowing everybody to shine.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I notice jealousy arise, it's never ever about the other person. It's always about me being like, oh, I wish I could do that too. And I'm not doing it. And why am I not doing it? Because of whatever reason, whatever belief I have, or just not taking the action. And that's just a little like swift kick in my behind to go and start doing the thing that they're doing, because I'm like, that's just showing me that's what I want for myself.
Right? And you could choose to be jealous of somebody showing up in their light and shining and doing what you want, or you can choose to be inspired, right? It's the exact same opportunity, and it's your perception and your own internal circumstances that are going to create that for you. But if you're triggered by somebody taking up space, being magical, whatever, then barring if, say, you've got a, sensitivity and they're like physically too loud, like sometimes, that's a different scenario than someone in their full artistry, their magic, their light, they're taking up space and owning that kind of magic, then like the inspiration could bolster you forward and the trigger is a gift. Not everyone's going to like take the gift and be like, "Oh, this is my stuff that I need to work through." But if you do, that can be the most amazing catalyst for expansion for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and sometimes it'll bring up stuff that you didn't even know you wanted, or right?
Right? Yeah. Oh, what is my hair doing? Yeah, exactly. And I'm speaking of this as though it's so easy and simple. Here's the thing, I've just always been someone to get inspired by other people. And I know not everybody is lucky enough to have that. I don't think I've ever really felt jealousy because I didn't think that I could do it too. Like I've always seen what other people do. And if I want to do that too, I'm like, oh, good. It's an example. I could do that too because I have the delusional Sagittarius confidence plus my Leo moon plus parents who always told me I could be anything, right? So I didn't have to unwind a lot of those dreams. I didn't have to unwind, or sorry, not the dreams, but those like old patterns of like, no, you can't energy. But the one that I had was making my dreams smaller because my big energy made other people uncomfortable. So I shrank not because someone told me I should, but because I noticed other people being triggered around me. I didn't want to rock the boat.
Yeah. And yeah, that's totally a thing. And I was the totally opposite of that, where I did have the like, oh God, it's taken me so much work to believe that I can do things, and that it's not just other people that get to live these fabulous lives and to be the conscious creator of their life. And yeah, to even, God, it was so far out of my realm of possibility to even dream that I would have the confidence, or yeah, to do anything that it is that I'm doing now. Is just blows my mind all the time. Mhm.
I love that. My favorite thing about you, Nicole, is that you do the work though, and that is just like mm, chef's kiss. And all of my close girlfriends and my clients and everybody, that's watching this that is doing the work, like, thank you. It's not our fault that we have these programs and all of this stuff that has been like put onto us, but it does get to be our responsibility to then put in the work to notice it and be like, oh, I'm triggered by this, or oh, this isn't actually even mine. What do I want to do with it? And start to consciously choose.
Mm. Yeah, and like I love to do the work because I know, like, I'm just so excited to be at the point where like most of the work, the big stuff, a lot of the stuff, I don't have to do a lot of the big healing and clearing work anymore. There's still stuff left to do and it comes up and I work through it as it comes up. But like it's so nice to not have to, like feeling like I've arrived finally at this place in my life where I have the confidence, I have the clarity, I feel okay to take up space, and I actually have the skills and stuff to share with people. And it's just so cool to finally be here. And so we're so lucky to like just be instilled and born with all of that. You still had to do some work too.
Well, my work was just the opposite of like, I had to recognize that I had shrunk myself down so much to be palatable because I have a 5 line in human design and people project their stuff all over me. So for much of my lifetime, I've not been seen for who I am, but I've been this mirror for people to see what's in them. And that like, that doesn't always go very well. And I've had a lot of people project all of their stuff all over me, especially when I'd be showing up and shining and being in my light. They'd be like, "Oh, yuck, ugh," like, and just be like, shit on me. So I made myself smaller. I had to notice I was doing it, and then I also needed to like do all of this repatterning to go. I actually am like worthy and all of this about having the bigger dreams, or it's not even worthy. Worthy wasn't the thing. It's like it's okay for me to have those bigger dreams. It's okay for me to want to do these things. It's okay for me to tap back into that innate energy that I have that is so big. And if I trigger people, that's their thing. And I have to just be really, really okay with that and strong and secure in myself and go, I know who I am. It's okay if it's not understood by other people. That doesn't mean I have to start making myself smaller in their presence. I'm not for everybody, as Rosalind, our friend, says, and it's okay. But I had to come to understand that, like, it's not actually doing them a service to make myself smaller to be more palatable to them so I could like maybe avoid triggering them. It's actually denying them of the opportunity to maybe witness the trigger and then heal it. And like now there's this energy of just going to show up and shine. And if people don't like it, that's fine. It's all good. It has nothing to do with me.
Mhm. And the thing is, you can't control how people are gonna think anyway, so you could be trying to mold yourself in a different way to be more palatable, and that will still, um, make them react in a certain way that you also have no control over. So you might as well just be yourself, and people can choose to, be triggered or not, do the work or not. But hopefully, and I know the people that you and I both want to be around, we want to be around the people that see us being ourselves and be inspired and be like, they're being themselves, so I can be myself too. And that is like my biggest goal in all the work I do. I want people to feel the freedom that it's okay to be themselves, even though that might not be 100% their lived experience in every situation in the world. You
Yes.
still, find the communities where it is safe to be yourself and show up and shine, because that is what we're all here to do, and that's what you and I are here to help people do. And I'm sure the
Yeah.
people watching this are also here to support people with that too.
Yeah, I turned the volume down on myself for a very long time, and volume in terms of like what I would share, because it felt like awkward and inappropriate to be happy, like to be joyful. And I'm not happy 100% of the time, but pretty damn close because of the work that I have done. But it's also like an innate thing. It's the central core of myself is joyful. Even if sadness is present, it's not my essence and it flows really quickly through me. But there are so many people that are, suffering and they're in so much misery that I was like, well, I can't be happy around them. That's just rude. And there's just all kinds of places and spaces where I've been like, I better turn down my weird, I better turn down my spiritual, I better turn down, my joyful exuberance and enthusiasm because people think it's annoying when I'm just like, oh my exciting. What I realized was the people that are my people, they're just gonna be like, oh my God, yes, party with me. And they're inspired by it. They don't hate it. We're actually loved for the exact same reason that the people that aren't for us are gonna hate us. The things that
Mhm,
you love about me annoy the fuck out of
mhm,
other people.
mhm. I'm sure people think that we're way too much and they're like, can they really be that happy all the time? Yes. And there was a time when I was annoyed by you. I've talked to you about this before. When I was in the depths of the concussion and life was not magical and wildly abundant, as it didn't feel that way like it feels for me now. And I was like, oh, can you really, like, are you for real? But also there was a part of me that's like, I want that too. And I could have chose to just kept being annoyed by it and not doing anything about it. I couldn't heal the concussion faster, but I could change how I viewed everything and how I was coping and how I was dealing with it all. And life is so much better now, obviously, because I've healed from the concussion, but also just my outlook on life is like quite different. I've removed so much of those limiting beliefs of that it can't be magical and that it can't be wildly abundant and that it can't be fun all the time and that things aren't joyful and mm, so much better now. Choosing to live in this place.
There have been lots of times in my life where things have been really stressful, things have been hard, from, my husband's illness to different like parenting things to different, like conflicts that are happening, injuries, illnesses. I'm not saying it's all like sparkles and unicorns, but I have this innate joy in me that's just part of me. Maybe the Sagittarius stellium, I don't know. It's just who I am, but I also do need to say that I did have to learn over my lifetime to meet people where they're at when I'm, when appropriate. So this is the other thing. I'm saying there's nuance to this. It's not just like spewing all of our energy all of the time and taking up all of the space and like that's not what we're talking about. If, like Nicole can say, like if she's having a bad day, I'm not like, it's okay, sparkles and rainbows. Like that's not how we do it. We can meet each other and feel the feelings and be frustrated. And I have times when I am frustrated or I am sad or I am annoyed, but it, like we have these practices where we let the feelings flow through instead of getting stuck. So they get to be like spoken of, honored, felt, expressed, and then they're gone. And then we get to go back to that innate state, which I think is like at the spiritual core of us. We there is peace, there is joy, there is bliss. That's our actual essence, and the rest of it is trauma. The things
Mhm,
that don't feel good, though it's like the trauma of life.
mhm. Yeah, it's so important. And I will always say this, I never ever suggest to bypass your feelings. You got to feel the feelings to move through them. You have to sit with the hard shit. That's the only way to get through it. And it sucks and it's not fun. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to do the work. But then when the hard shit happens and I have to sit through it, I'm like, oh, this isn't as fun when I'm actually sitting in it. Surprising. But also when you actually allow yourself to feel. So I haven't fact checked this, but I've heard that that feelings, the actual like emotions, sensations that we feel in our body are like 90 seconds long. So if we allow ourselves to sit in the feeling and notice the physical sensations in our body for 90 seconds, they can be moved through. And so I'm just thinking of when my dog died and how much it sucked to sit with the grief of that. But I allowed myself to sit, to feel, feel all the feelings. And I still had the grief afterwards, but I didn't have the intensity of the physical sensations in my body. And when I was able to move through that like barrier, it kind of felt like it was so much easier to sit with the sadness because it wasn't the same level of intensity that was happening in my nervous system. Um, yeah, so like, yeah, feel your feelings because you're not going to be able to get through the good side if you don't do that. And then when you do have the hard things that come up, you're going to be able to have these resilience tools and resources that will help you be able to automatically start to look at like, oh, what is the silver lining in this? Where do I get support? What can I be grateful for right now? Not doesn't have to be the situation, but it could be that you have support or something in your life, or that you've got water or air to breathe. Like it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be the big thing. So yeah, we've got this ability to like take up space and be really expansive and joyful and frolic around a festival just like a unicorn, but also like feel the really shitty feelings when they arise and parent yourself and nurture yourself through it as well. So you can have this expansion and contraction as
Mhm.
is life.
Yeah. That is the thing. Like we get to live and work and walk side by side and parent and do all this fun stuff together, but we've like cultivated and learned how to use all of these freaking tools that allow us to access the innate joy and magic and abundance and all of those feelings of like all of us, that soul embodiment energy. And they're now we actually get to teach and support people in accessing and utilizing those tools and to like get rid of all of the things that aren't them, right? Those programs, and to move through the feelings and to work with all of those different levels and layers, the ancestral, the Akashic, all of that. Um, this has been, my life's work is to help people return to the power of who they are. And when you really boil it down, that's what you do too. But there's that evolutionary part of it where it keeps expanding, keeps growing. There's more layers, there's more levels. And we're just in the process of launching this new experience for people to really tap into all of this cosmic soul magic, the expansion, all of this that we're talking about, the joy, and bring all of that like down to earth with the tools, the grounded, the practical, the actual how to live this way in the Creator Codes membership. So I wanted to mention that that's something available for people if they're like, okay, sure, all of this stuff sounds great, but oh, like, the how is just all of these different things. And it's not one thing, it's the mindset work, the emotional work, the spiritual work, it's actions, it's practices. It is an ongoing practice of showing up and being present with what is, and then moving the energy that you don't want to have stuck to you so you can actually be you. So you can be the beautiful creator that you are. And then you can start to choose instead of just like having life happen to you on default.
Yeah. Oh, and just even having that choice to know that you can do that is so freaking powerful.
Right? And this is the thing is that what you were saying before is like before it used to feel really heavy and really hard and there was so much work to be done, and there is that part of it, but then there's also the part where you just use the tools as things come up because you've got that center stability and you're in that place, and it's just when things arise you can move through them really quickly. So that's what people have to look forward to after doing the heavy hard work. Then you get to this place where there's so much flow, and if there's like a boulder that's in front of you, it doesn't take as long. You could just apply the tools, and because you've got this practice doing it, it moves so quickly. So like I would love for you to share the very first time you realized that you could create something when someone threw that into your field in Thailand. Would you tell that story? And then I would
Yeah.
love to contrast that with your most recent experience.
Yes. So this was 2006. I was 22 and in Thailand for the first time. And I had like I had a year contract for my first job and then it ended. So I was able to go there for 6 weeks and then continue my job after that. So it was like this really beautiful experience, how it kind of worked out. And I took my first yoga class ever outdoors in Thailand, which was magical. And I was talking to the yoga teacher afterwards, who was a woman from Australia. And I said something like, I wish I could do this. And she's like, why can't you? And I was like, what? Didn't question, like, I did not question it like that. That wasn't even a thing. That's something other people can do. I can't do that. I wasn't questioning the program that I was running or even aware that it was a program. And I didn't know why it shocked me so much to know that that was, yeah, like a thing. I'm like, I don't know why I couldn't do it. I guess I could, but gosh, now, like looking back, I was lacking so much of the confidence, the belief that I could. Like, there's just so much compared to where I'm at now, which is astounding. But what a fun journey it's been. I have so many lessons to share.
I love that because it just exemplifies like the life on default that so many of us play. We're just like, well, of course, it just is this way. And we don't have that consciousness around what it is that we're doing, what we're choosing. And we get to go through that piece. I think it's sort of like all of us do, where we just have to go like, Vickard scratch, wait a minute. Oh, and your vision gets widened, your brain gets blown open, and you're like, I guess there was more to life than I could have possibly imagined just 5 seconds ago.
Mhm. I feel like if that was a TV show, there would be a record scratch in that because
Yeah.
that's like how jarring it was to me. I was like, what?
I'm
I
really
can't do
feeling
this.
Boy Meets no, what is it? Was it the Boy Meets World? I don't know. There was like the narrator guy,
Wonder Years
Wonder
or
Years,
something.
probably, right? We're
Um,
like, you might be wondering how I wound up in this situation. And then they had
mm,
that like record scratch sound.
mm.
I've been feeling that a lot in my life. I think I even like posted it geekily, dorkily the other day. And I was like, that is so lame when I typed it out. And I was like, no, you know what? It's authentic. I'm just gonna share it because that's exactly the sound I heard in my head. And if other people didn't get it, that's okay. Right? And then it was like a whole process decades of like really going, what do I actually want? Can I have what I want? Am I worthy? Is it possible? Like all of those pieces that you got to do.
Yeah,
But
like
then, yeah, just last month, you had a really interesting experience where it was that piece around taking up space.
yeah, so I have in since 2006 created a life that I love and by design. And now I'm no longer in a corporate job. I work for you. I do my own coaching, facilitating all the different things. And I've been spending my summer going to different music festivals. I've done 5 of the 6 of them so far, and it's been amazing. And when I've been camping, I have this giant, it says it's an 8-person tent, but I feel like you could probably fit 12 people in it. So that's what I've been sleeping in when I'm camping. I've been doing most of these festivals, all of them pretty much, by myself. And my husband has been, or Casey, has been watching my daughter so I can go frolic and have fun and live my best life. This tent has been very interesting because it's such a big tent and it's just me inside of it. And I've been creating all these group camps with my friends at all these different events because I want to be that's fun. But then there's like all the organization and we're arriving at different times and we're needing space for each of our like setups, which could be other tents or trailers or different things, and wanting to make sure that there's space for all of us and being in the space that we want. And there has been some interesting comments from people about like, oh, are you sure you want to have that big tent all to yourself? Like maybe we need to conserve space kind of thing, and you can share your tent so you're not taking up so much space. And I kind of was innately feeling that already, like, oh, I don't know that I feel comfortable in this big tent. It feels like it's too much, and it feels like I'm taking up more space than I require or should, because it's just more than I need to. I should just have a little tent because it's just for me. And then I caught myself thinking that because I'm much better at that now. And am like, no, that is not true. Why can't I have a big tent? If I had a trailer or a motorhome or an RV, nobody would say that RV is too big for one person. You can't have that there. No one would ever think that. Or maybe they would. I don't know. I wouldn't think that. But it seems like for a tent being big, it just seems ridiculous. I love my tent. We shot a cribs video in my tent. Well, welcome to my crib. And I showed the foyer of my tent because there's a big living space in it as well as a sleeping space. It's very small. So anyways, I caught this belief of myself that was so not supportive, and I realized that this is like a reflection of my life as well. Like I don't feel okay to take up the space. I could apologetically take up the space and be like, this is my tent. I'm sorry. Is there room for me here? And I was like, that is just not the vibe. And I was also like, I need to make some more money around the same time. I'm like, I need to put out some offers about out there. And I'm like, oh, that is also not the vibe of abundance and being open to abundance and open to receive. So I went in and did some healing work about forgiving myself for believing that it's not okay for me to take up more space than what I think is necessary. And that I don't even remember all the things that I went through, but that was like the big one, forgiving myself that it wasn't okay to take up more space and giving myself permission to believe that it is okay for me to take up more space. There might be consequences with that. People might not like that I'm taking up more space, and that's okay. There might physically be constraints where I don't get to fit in the spot with the rest of my friends because maybe there isn't enough space for me. And that might mean I have to go somewhere else. And that's like a lesson that could be true in real life too. If you're wanting to take up more space and your current friends or circle is like, we don't like that, maybe you got the wrong friends. It doesn't mean that you have to go and shrink yourself down. You just might need to go to a different circle where there is space for you. People celebrate you taking up the space. So there's all these different things. And I did this clearing and I envisioned myself like in my tent. And I realized before, like I feel my energy like just being really small inside this massive tent. And I imagined it expanding and like actually taking up the whole space in the tent around me. And when I did that, I was like, oh, it feels so good. And I then all of a sudden gave no fucks about how big my tent was and was like owning that I have this massive tent. And had also around the same time put out some offers for oracle card readings. And then somebody bought one from me. I'm like, of course they did, after I made that space to take up more space and felt good about taking more space and making more space to receive as well, because it was not just keeping my energy in so small, but really allowing myself to expand and feel, move from that space of being apologetically taking up space to unapologetically taking it. This is me, this is my tent, and I'm going to own it.
As
So it is.
could you
Uh,
guys feel those frequency shifts as she was talking into it? Like when you're really like energetically sensitive and attuned, you can feel the frequencies of different words and the different experience, and you transmit it really well when you're telling the story. And when you're like talking about being small, like my energy gets smaller, and then when your energy gets big, my energy was like, it's safe to take up space, which just shows me on that really visceral energetic level a few things. Your taking up space gives me permission to do that as well, as opposed to it being a zero sum game. You're taking up space, so I can't take up space. That's the old paradigm. If I get bigger, someone else has to get smaller. That's not how this actually works. That is not how it actually works. You can all have the energetic space that you need, but not everyone's going to be welcoming to it. But it's that like mirror neuron thing. And it also reminds me why I like hanging out with you, because you're the sum of the people that you hang around with the most. So there's just so much richness in that. Let us know if you're live or on the replay. Like, could you feel that? Is your energy field been too close to your body, too crunchy? Right? It happens from stress and from trauma and from hiding yourself, from protecting yourself. It's a nervous system thing as well as an energetic thing, because your nervous system is actually dictating your energetic field. But like when our energy is too close to us, there's no room for the magic not to be expressed from you and not to receive from the universe. If you don't have space for abundance, how is it supposed to freaking land? Right? We have to expand our capacity to be able to receive. We have to physically, energetically, emotionally, mentally be okay with actually making it bigger. Take up all the space that you desire. And then the inspiration can come through. Then the clients can come through. Then all of the magic can land and be expressed, and money too. Right? Like
mm,
all of the abundance needs space and room to play.
yes. Yeah, totally. Like nobody can, if you're hiding, nobody can see you, nobody can feel you. You're not magnetic. I was like, I'm a generator in human design and I have the sacral authority, and I could feel like when I'm in that small space, I can't feel my sacral energy. When I'm in that expansive space, I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. And that's what people see and feel. And I also, so this was right before Vibes music festival that this all happened. And then I got to facilitate at Vibes, and it was just wild, the experience of like people in the community that I've been around for years, like didn't know who I was, which I totally don't care about. I'm like, whatever. But it was really interesting to see when I went there with that, uh, you know, feeling of like, it's okay to be me. It's okay to take up space. They saw me for the first time and talked to me and like messaged me afterwards. It was like, oh, wow, I really am here taking up space now. It's so cool to see how that is reflected in the outside world. It's not just my own inner experience. And my workshop was so good, and I know it was so good, and that was awesome. And I feel like, part of that ability to show up as a facilitator was expanded by this experience of unapologetically taking up space. And I know today on Facebook you posted about swearing and saying fuck. And during my super spiritual ecstatic dance at a transformational music festival, I think I yelled like, let's dance, motherfuckers, during it. And I'm like, it's okay to swear and be spiritual. I was totally in the like, let's take up space and be ourselves, and like you get to shine energy. It was awesome.
And if there's any tiny ears around,
Sorry.
apologies. I did also post that I try not to on the public live streams, but
Mm.
this is just worth peppering through. And I appreciate that. And I personally do swear around my child, my 7-year-old, and I allow her to also swear never at anyone, and only in context and only in like the appropriate places, like at home. Because I find it hilarious and I also like demystifying it. So it's not like something that they shouldn't do. So I appreciate the power and the frequency of words. And sometimes just a good old F bomb is just the like release of energy that needs to happen.
Yes, it got everybody very excited.
Yes, I love that. And it's so much fun. And it can be a great pattern interrupt, an algorithm interrupt. It can also apparently be a painkiller. So
Mm,
if you swear when you stub your toe, it's actually going to hurt less. So, there you go. Permission to take up space verbally and with your magic and with your tent and with all of that, with the nuance to understand we are not talking about taking more resources in a zero sum game, right? If there was not enough space, you would have been like, oh, with her Libra-ness. This girl's got a lot of Libra. Social equity and fairness is really important to her. So if somebody needed a tent, you would have, I'm sure, like been like, oh, here, oh no, your tent was destroyed. Come stay with me. Like there's not a resource guarding or hoarding or like more than we should if it's really unfair. But there's this energy of you are really allowed to not have just enough, but to actually be an overflowing abundance.
mm,
Because just enough is actually scarcity,
mhm.
right? It's not it's not the infinite abundance that we are designed for, especially energetically. Like you can be really equitable in the physical space that you take up and making sure, that that's all fair, but energetically taking up all the space you need, financially, money is not a zero sum game, right? If you make more money, you're not taking money away from anyone else. Like the system that we're printing right now is, or that we work with, is kind of infinite. We can just like create more money out of nowhere somehow. I don't know exactly how that works, but it's just ones and zeros, right? Like it's not actually real. So why limit yourself to just enough because it's not fair to other people? There are so many places and spaces this comes into. And I'm really, really curious to witness what this happens. Is it okay if I mention uh flashing back to last December when you were wanting to put on a workshop? And there was that
Yes,
energy that came through.
wild
Do you
abundance
remem
energy or
No, before that. So you might not even remember this, but, um, there was a workshop that she wanted to do, but other people were doing workshops around that time too. And there was this block and resistance to posting or sharing about a workshop that she was going to do that sounded really, really good because of that old program belief that it was zero sum and she was going to be taking energy and money and resources away from other people and she shouldn't.
yeah, that was totally that program running. That was like, um, oh, that feels so sticky now to feel
I
into
know.
that energy. But if you're there, that's okay too, because I have been there. Um, yes, I was really worried that I don't want to take away from other people by sharing what I had to share. And it was a $27 workshop and it was like such a hard thing for me to get ready and put out. And I don't remember how many people actually show up. Maybe it was like 15 or 20 actually like signed up for it when I actually did get it out. So I'm really excited to because that can be done again. I'm excited to do that again this year and like be in this energy of taking up space and knowing that what I have is valuable and being more embodied in the feeling and understanding and knowingness, I guess, that what I am sharing, while it might be something that's happening around the solstice or like that New Year's planning kind of energy, even if somebody else is doing a workshop that's got a similar vibe, it's not going to be the same as what I bring through because it's coming from me and we all have our unique essence, codes, expression to share in the world.
And this is the thing. This is the frequency of abundance, which is the like opposite of that frequency of separation and scarcity that feels really heavy and dense and closed off. In the abundance frequency, There's enough for everybody. It's infinite. Nobody is winning and losing. There's infinite, workshops that we can put on. There's infinite, expressions of possibility. There is no competition, because we all, as we really tune into our unique essence, are going to just be serving the people that we are here to serve. And honestly, that's the vibe that I have gotten the opportunity to live in for a long time. My soul sisters and, like co-creators and collaborators and people that other people might deem competition because they're doing similar things to me in similar ways, they're not playing in that frequency of scarcity. And if like people are doing things at the same time, and they might even channel through things with like the same name, which has happened to me several times, um it's
Mm.
okay. There's not a feeling of lack. It's like, oh, isn't that hilarious that we happen to channel through the same frequency and vibe? Yay. In the frequency of abundance, I get really excited when I see people doing the same work that I'm doing. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, everybody that's doing this work is doing the same thing, just in their own way, in a different way. There's no competition or scarcity or jealousy or lack, and there's room for everybody, and it's so freaking magical. It feels so good. It
Mhm.
feels so good. It feels so relaxing to the nervous system, because you're not like, oh no, they're getting their piece, so I can't have a piece too. Like there's infinite pie.
There's 8 billion people or more on this earth. Like there are so many people we can help and support. And it might feel small and constricted. And whenever I am feeling like that, because sometimes those things pop up, I'm like, okay, how can I get myself back into regulation, back into coherence, connection? Because when I'm feeling that disconnection, that is when the scarcity and those, yeah, and then it just kind of spirals. The feelings, the thoughts, everything. And that is not the
The
place that I
downward
want to be
spiral.
living from or creating from. And that's when I go back to my tools, resource myself, and I'm like, okay. We can play in the field of abundance and possibility again. And it's so much better there.
Yeah. And that's like the infinite abundance of the divine essence of the truth of the universe that you can feel, that everybody feels when they release all of the stuff that isn't them. I have never taken somebody through this process. I have never heard of anyone in a mystical endeavor who has gotten to the very core of their essence and said, oh, damn, it's not enough. It's not enough. Like at the core of it, it's nothing and everything all at the same time, right? It is truly infinite. It's an infinite game. And so this is the other part of my life's work. It's like we've been talking about the creator codes and like all of the tools and the actual how to like expanding the capacity, regulating the nervous system, repatterning the brain, and working on the emotional clarity, like all of those things. We have the how for that. But part of my favorite magic is also literally elevate people into the frequency of abundance where all things are possible, and play with the cosmic magic and the attunements and the harmonic induction into that space, which is something else that we do inside the creator codes. So it's like bringing that cosmic soul magic, tapping you into that, and then bringing it down to earth with that grounded how everything from working with nature's rhythms and astrology and the wheel of the year and the archetypal evolution of humanity through the archetypes of astrology, right? Like through the astrological gates from Aries all the way to Pisces, like all of these very practical tools, working with the freaking elements, right? Working with nature, working with all of these different pieces, but like for the express purpose of tapping into that infinite creation potential that we have.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's been so magical since I've started working with all of these things in the last 2 years, especially. I it's like I understood bits and pieces of how manifestation worked and different spiritual laws and new age stuff, but I didn't understand how to work with it in wholeness and to bridge and weave all of it together. And it's not something that you could necessarily just like, I'm going to learn this and do it from the mind level. It's the activations that happen in the Life Creation 101 content and working with really getting to be initiated into each of the elements and really going deep with the astrology archetypes and not so much even just, well, we did get to do this, but not so much just for the like reading your natal chart, but just really understanding the energies of each of the astrology archetypes and how to work with them instead of against them. And how lovely that we're recording this on the Leo new moon. It's such a perfect time to really talk about shining your light in the world and expressing yourself, having that radiance. And mm,
That's the
yeah,
funny
the real
part, if I can interject,
mm,
because I mentioned this inside the Code on Confidence that I was doing live inside Creator Codes today. But I was initiated into these mysteries in this lifetime, and they're not mysteries, but like these sacred teachings of the Wheel of the Year and the seasons in the astrology almost 15 years ago by Lisa Michaels, one of my mentors. And I don't consciously work with them all the time, but I tend to align with them because I have worked with them in the past, and my intuition and my innate flow and just will align the perfect thing at the most beautiful time, like a new moon. It'll be a Leo new moon, or the the Aquarius full moon if I'm doing something about like releasing the inhibitions to being a visionary, and I'll be like, oh, how perfect that worked out that way. So whether I do it consciously or unconsciously, because I have aligned intentionally and been initiated into this potency of the cyclical magic of being here on earth to support the creations and manifestations that I'm doing, it just happens. And then we're not trying to work on our own time, but we're tapping into the power of organic time and divine time as well. There's this element of flowing with instead of working against that just makes your creation capacity so much bigger, right? Humans sometimes forget that we're animals, we're part of nature. There's cycles and seasons to everything, and you can't, like, without doing a whole bunch of rigmarole like building a greenhouse or whatever, you can't plant your seeds in the winter. At least not where we live. There's a whole process.
and you can't plant your seeds today and expect a garden tomorrow. Like you have to wait. And so many of us, including myself, I'm way better at this now, but like that's a big lesson of really understanding the organic timing. And there's so many ads, maybe not probably for the people watching, they'll probably get all the ads like I do about like make 10K in your business starting next tomorrow and like all these things that
Yesterday.
yeah, like it's oh, then it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong and they like what am I missing and just puts all this like shame and doubt and guilt, but that's actually not what how it's supposed to work. So many people need the reminder, including myself, that things take organic time and that's okay. That's normal and you're not doing anything wrong.
Mhm. Even a quantum leap, which can happen but can't be sustained unless you've created the capacity to actually hold it, your nervous system and all kinds of things. It's the result of so many micro movements and expansions that have just reached a cumulative tipping point to tip you into a new reality. But that reality has been cultivated through all of the practices, all of the belief systems and identities that you hold, and the things that you've done over and over and over. And yes, everything can shift in an instant, but it's all of the work leading up to that that people don't see.
Mhm. Like, yeah, all of the work of my 20 years of
Right. And
personal work
lifetimes.
and lifetimes. And
Right.
yeah, like so much. It's not just one thing, it's everything and it's over time. Everything is cumulative as well.
Yes. And that's great because you don't have to start at the beginning ever. Even if you lose everything, you still have the wisdom, you still have the knowledge, you still have the lessons, you still have the muscle memory. Like that releasing of trying to control and releasing of resistance allows you to actually take up the energetic space that you like innately can. When we're trying to really control things and make it happen on a certain time frame, it's restrictive energy and doesn't feel good. Can you feel that when I'm talking with like getting smaller and smaller? So that surrender, and I have the surrender card out right here. It was on top, and it just feels like it was like, show me, show me, show me. In order to take up space, like energetically to the level that you desire, you have to surrender the human ego that's trying to control it and be witnessed in a certain way and be seen in a certain way and do all of those things and check all those boxes and be perceived in the way that you want other people to perceive you, blah, 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 blah. And the surrender piece is actually just that relaxation into the trust and faith in the divine parts of yourself to take the wheel, right? It's that soul embodiment, the luminous evolution, all of these little pieces that continue to fine tune, refine, and align your experience here on earth. Yeah.
You
Surrender,
did.
so you can play.
Of course, I pulled the play card today too.
Of
And
course you
client said,
did.
we always pull the same cards. It's so funny.
I love it. So, loves, if you've got questions, comments, make sure you put them below in the comments, in the replays. You can hashtag replay it, and we'll make sure that we take a look. But I would love to hear, do you feel like you're ready? And if so, declare it. Like, declare it in the comments here. Just like, yeah, you know what? I am ready to take up more space. You can drop the F-bomb in it too, just in case there's little ears. I'm not going to do that publicly right here, but I want you to in the comments. If they can read over your shoulder, they're old enough to see the swears. I am ready to take up more space. I want that for you. I want you to expand your creation container, expand your capacity so the magic that you are, your whole soul, can come to inhabit this space and play with you. Boy, doesn't that feel good?
So good. Yeah. I just want to say one thing we didn't even touch on is the metaphor of the tent and making it bigger is like sometimes it's not that you need to fill your cup, it's that you need a bigger cup to hold more
Mhm.
because your cup is too small and it gets emptied really fast and it maybe fills up fast, but then you're just getting depleted. So the tent was also like this physical embodiment of this bigger cup that I'm creating for myself so that I can hold more and receive more and have more abundance flow to me and all of that stuff.
Mm.
And learn
Mhm.
that all the creator codes, all that
Right?
content.
Sometimes you need a bigger cup. And also, how can you empty your cup to be that vessel for nothingness while also have an overflowing cup? We resolve paradoxical consciousness inside creator codes so you can access your God consciousness. Like you have to be able to hold things that sound opposite inside of you and reconcile that into non-duality. And like, ugh, I teach you how. That's the thing, because all of the sounds I could see people tuning out and they're just like, whoa, words. Yeah, no, we break it down into this is how you do it. And then you're like, of course. And it's just a remembering. It's a soul remembrance. You're like, oh yeah, this is how the world works. This is how the universe works. This is how creation works. This is who I am. And it's just a journey of reminding each other and dancing and walking with each other on our way home. So if you're like, I would like to learn how, I mean, there's so many different ways you can play with Nicole and I from our private coaching and one-on-one work to the newest project, which is Creator Codes, which is a $44 a month membership for 44 for the whole year that is chock full of magic, like activations, belief repatternings, clearings, healings, and codes with the literal creation template, how you create and manifest on this plane, on this earthly existence, literally the how to do life. Like it is uh, invaluable information. And also, I think it's really important that everybody gets this. So instead of putting it in a course format or anything, it is in this membership where it's a very accessible price point, but the work that's in there is life freaking changing. And I know that because it changed my life and it's changed Nicole's life and so many of our clients that are doing this. I'm on this mission. We are on this mission to bring the how to human and be divine all at the same time to the world. So I put the link below. Let us know if you've got questions. Sending you so much love. Thanks, Nicole. This has been so much fun. I'll talk to you, I'm sure, right after this too.
Yes.
Okay. Sending
For
love to
watching.
you.
Bye.